Tracer player. We can take a look at the final map in this series will be Eichenwald. So, going into this map, obviously a hybrid map where you have to take the points, unlock the payload. See, probably a lot of Junkrat going into this final map.
Yeah, I love this map. Obviously, it translates to Oak Forest, roughly, and it's around southern Germany, which is where it's supposed to be set. This map is so interesting for me because it features a couple of those really close choke points, and then later on in the map, you have some incredibly wide open areas where hit-scan heroes can really dominate. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise up in this thing. We're going to our last map of the series here. Let's see if the Shanghai Dragons can put one more on the board.
See, on the defensive side of things, right, you can run the Junkrat on the first point. You can just spam through the choke, really make it difficult for teams to get on.
That AoE damage is just something, it's not to be sniffed at, really.
Yeah, you probably have to switch off of the Junkrat as we go towards the second stage of the map, because like you were saying, there's so much high ground that you're able to have a hero like a 76 or a McCree up there, maybe even both, and just put down a ton of damage. Junkrat can't really get up to that high ground to contest those heroes.
And seeing 5kin being substituted into the lineup here for the Shanghai Dragons definitely gives me a feeling that we're going to be seeing a Lucio. And bear in mind, we did, I think, see a Lucio Moira start from the Dragons on Ilios. I believe it was switched very quickly.
Switched off of it pretty fast.
As, yeah, we saw Undead hastily go for the Pharah. So we'll see if that's going to be the case again. But this is a very interesting part of the map here. Very open, very wide, good for hit scan. And then as we head into the last stage or into the castle, things get very close quarters once again. So attacking teams and often defenders have to actually vary their approach and composition over each of the 3 stages of this map for optimal situations.
Yeah, I feel like Eichenwald is one of the maps where I see the most, just vast majority of the heroes being played on.
There's variation in comps.
Yeah, a lot of variation in terms of comps, right? I mean, you can play Torb here. There's a lot of different things you do with Orisa on defense. On defense, it will be the Gladiators starting things off, and we're going to see Sherfor play the Pharah here on defense. Usually you see potentially a Junkrat here, but Pharah can do kind of the same things, right? Spamming the choke with rockets. And for Shanghai, okay, so looks like they're going to be running quad tank here at the beginning. Usually you would see quad tank with a Mercy, right, to just feed her charge to getting that res.
Yeah. There are a few teams that are playing this composition, by the way, or at least a quad tank comp. So it's time for the Dragons to go for something to mix it up. This is not standard from the Dragons, by the way. We haven't seen this in quite some time.
And so the tough thing for the Dragons will be dealing with Sherfor. You already see how fast he's building up towards the ult on Pharah. You're just going to be able to put down so much free, uncontested damage. We'll see, though, if Free Field and 5kin can heal it on up. Well, they're not really going to be doing much healing. That's going to be 2 kills to Sherfor, taking out both supports for Shanghai.
Yeah, nasty. Not much healing here. Undead is forced to take a breather with his healing ability, but that's the only way he's going to get it from. Sherfor looks like he's going to be brought back to keep fighting the good fight. But as he, rises from his slumber, he sees that the Dragons have seemed to have disappeared. The fire dimmed for just a moment now, and Sherfor can, of course, use his jetpacks just to get an early vision of what the Shanghai Dragons are trying to set up with. And they're going to go away from this competition.
Now Shanghai, you switched out 4 players. You changed 4 heroes on your lineup. So you're going to reset all the ults. You didn't really build up towards much there. It'll be Sherfor up top here, just still firing down rockets on the Pharah. He's going to have that barrage. But you have Undead going over to the McCree. MD is going to play Tracers. Nice shots come out there from Undead. Get him pretty weak. Now Sherfor is going to go on the flank. He has a big barrage set up here.
Not bad. Let's get a 1 kill. And Sherfor obviously being protected for the most part there by Bishu. The defense matrix was placed over Sherfor, kind of makes a bit of a cone of silence, makes it very, very hard to stop that Pharah from getting optimum damage. And they're going to chase these kills. They're going to get themselves extra ultimate percentage, and it's also going to be longer before the Dragons are going to have 6 men to come back with. Sherfor's got to respect this. Undead will punish him, and that may have been an overextension. It's a long walk back to this point for Sherfor to defend.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for Free Field to spawn up because 5kin presses him right back up into the fight.
They're trying to take advantage of this man advantage.
Now the Gladiators going to be forced to back out a little bit. They'll get Bijou back in the mech. Now they'll start to push on through.
1 tick for the Dragons so far, and now the Gladiators have to get involved in this fight. Shaz playing very carefully. He doesn't know quite where the Dragons are set up, but he knows he needs to contribute in terms of the damage, and it looks like the Gladiators are making it happen. Roshan gets taken down by Bishu as he charges headlong in towards his Simeon assailant. It's going to be Undead to fall, and Shaz is in a rough position, but the rest of his team is there to protect him. Great peel from the tanks of the Gladiators allows Shaz to do damage and to stay alive.
And the Gladiators are able to hold on to that Transcendence. They only have to use the Valkyrie here to stay alive. You can take a look from Asher's POV. That's the pulse bomb that takes out 5kin.
Yeah, almost had himself 2 kills for the price of 1 there, but it seems to have been enough to do the job. 1 minute 22 remains for the Shanghai Dragons. They have a Valkyrie here for Fire King. It's going to give him an extra mobility, cause him to be able to resurrect his allies without there being an animation, so it doesn't take a few seconds, it can be instant. Asher looking in though, there's a Transcendence used by the Shanghai Dragons. Again, this is earlier than the Dragons want to use this ultimate. Asher and his team may have just forced it out of them.
We've seen that all series long, that Shanghai has used their Transcendence a little bit early. It'll be Undead taking out Asher there.
It's going to get...
He's not able to take out Five King there. They do get some other members though. It's going to be Rocket Barrage getting a few players weak. Five King using the Valkyrie, getting the double res, bringing 2 more players back into the action. But yeah, I mean, there's so much players coming at him, through his front. It's so difficult to look up to get any type of contest on the Sherford there. It's 30 seconds left here. It's not looking good for Shanghai to make any type of push towards taking point A.
It's so rough for Undead as a McCree player. Yeah. You've got to look both behind you and above you at the same time. Being harassed by a Tracer and a Pharah is one of the most unpleasant things about playing McCree. And I don't blame Undead for struggling there. He did start the fight off well with that first kill.
And look to see if Big Goose gets this Valkyrie. The Gladiators play pretty aggressive, pop the Valkyrie early and take the fight to the Shanghai Dragons as Roshan diving on in. He's going to get weak, forced to use Primal Rage.
This is the last fight here for the Dragons. They need to get this point so they can continue moving on this round. It doesn't seem to have started stellar though. Short4 now finds free field in the corner, gets one big rocket on him. That's going to make him hurt. Remix gets rezzed up back in the fight, so the Gladiators still have 6 players with Undead going down. No, Asher gives up his life to get the kill on the enemy McCree. Big Goose opts to bring up Remix instead. Perhaps a second time in that fight. Bishi taking cover right now again. Where is the enemy, he wonders, as the Dragons have sort of taken a sprint pause in this fight, but Shaz again picks off Roshan. Bishi going hunting for Five King, trying to find the Mercy, doesn't quite get it. No, he does. Five King tries to slip away undetected, and Bishi's going to punish him for his hubris. Now up on the point, still being contested by both sides, and this is everything for the Shanghai Dragons. Last chance for them to make something happen here. The self-destruct claims Remix, but MG is punished, and there's nowhere to be seen on the point. The Dragons give it all, and it's not enough. The Gladiators, those shields are standing tall, Matt.
Tremendous defense from the Los Angeles Gladiators. Sure4 on the Pharah. Now, they had a lot of issues, Shanghai, in dealing with the Pharah on Ilios. It kind of carries over in to our final map here on Eichenwalde, where they were not able to get Sure4 out of the sky, which seemed like for the entire game, he was able to put down so much damage. The one time you were talking about where Undead needed to look up, it was so difficult because I believe he just gets rezzed. Then he has Remix jumping right at him, I know, playing the Winston. And then, I mean, he takes up so much space in your actual just POV, right? Where you're not really able to see where Sure4 is in the sky because Winston, as such a large hero, gets in your face and obviously putting down some damage as well.
The Gladiators are providing so much consistent pressure that the Dragons are struggling to juggle all the priorities that they have as an attacking team. And you'd think in the game of Overwatch that the attackers would have a chance to dictate the flow of the game. They can decide when the fight starts. Not so much when you're dealing with a Pharah and a Tracer and an enemy Zenyatta behind his tank line, dishing out huge amounts of damage. The Dragons, as soon as they get out of their spawn, they're beset upon all sides, and the Gladiators are not giving them any room to breathe. And again, when you're running a McCree, as the Dragons were, that's a very good way to shut down the gunslinger, as he often has to look up, down, left, right, behind, and inside.
And just like how they did on Ilios, the Gladiators just used great teamwork to be able to make this Pharah work, because Sure4 finishes that first half with 31% of team damage. Only 8 eliminations, though. Bishu with 20 eliminations and Asher with 19. That tells me that a lot of damage coming down from Sure4, and then Bishu on the Diva and Asher on the Tracer doing a nice job getting in, finishing these players off.
So focus fire has been very good from the Gladiators. They're singling out individual targets on the Dragons, and they're putting all of their resources into eliminating them one by one. That's what you want to see at this level. Undead is going to play the Soldier 76 now. I think he wants to play a bit safer than on the McCree. 76 is a little bit more self-sufficient, has self-healing, and could run away in a pinch.
The Gladiators will play the Pharah on offense here, so Sure4 will take up Pharah responsibilities yet again. This time Undead will not play free, he'll play 76.
Oh, that's so nasty.
That can't happen right away. I mean, Dia has to play a little bit more careful in that because you have to know you only really have one great opportunity to hold on defense.
Okay, it's traded out. Undead eventually finds a kill on Sure4, but you can see that Five King was hoping to get a resurrect on his Pharah player, but he couldn't. He was forced away by the rest of the Gladiators. Now again, they're not giving them any room to breathe. This is great aggression, good tempo and pressure being applied on Asher. Pulse Bomb, this could be super nasty, but no, the Shanghai Dragons scrabble away from the explosive device. Dropped lazily on the ground, and now Asher's going to keep them inside the hunting lodge if he can, but MG comes out. 3 kills, but note that all of them, or 2 of them should I say, were assisted by Zenyatta Discord Orbs. Gets the D-suit, gets 2 kills. That's big. Shanghai hold.
That could have gotten ugly quick. You know, when Dia falls there at the beginning, you put a lot of pressure on a dead NMG to deal with the Pharah that's coming at you. MG picks up 3 kills there towards the end. But now they have switched off the Pharah. Dia will go to Tracer. Probably wanted Dia back. Yeah, extremely low here.
Oh, it's mini Diva kill. That's so huge. Thanks for the replay. We wouldn't have known otherwise. That is so impressive. With the Buddy Blaster, that's a way to add insult to injury.
Now Sherfor, though, building up towards that Rocket Barrage. It'll be Shaz using the Transcendence. 5king will use the Valkyrie here. As see Sherfor just playing around the corner, able to land 2 nice rockets on Undead. It'll be 5king using a res on Roshan, trying to keep him in the action. There comes the Rocket Barrage out of Sherfor, gets nothing with it.
5king's done a great job staying alive and getting these resurrects. But it might not be enough to keep the Gladiators away from their front door. They're knocking, and Shawfor's already found MG in the fight. There's no Resurrect available for 5king. He needs to take a back seat. His Valkyrie also has expired, so he has less healing and less mobility, and that's going to prevent him from escaping as Remix bears down upon him. Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and video games, and the Gladiators are looking real good now. It's so far to walk back for the Dragons. They probably don't have anyone remotely close enough. It's MG to try and keep this one stalled out a little bit longer, but again, he's dispatched very, very quickly. Time's up, Dragons. That's the series. A big bit of 4 Overwatch for you as the Gladiators look real good doing it.
Gladiators show why they're kind of a team that comes in as an underdog into the season, but a very scary one at that. They have a lot of versatile DPS players. You see the teamwork is there for this roster. It's one that I think as time goes on, they'll get even better.
I mean, the Gladiators showed us good and bad in the preseason. Now, much more of the former than the latter, I think it's safe to say. They did go down to the Battle of LA earlier on, which was a little bit tough. Obviously, they played up against the Valiant in the preseason, and that was a sick match, 1-for-1. But now, we're going to head over to the stage. It's Zoe with Hydration from the Gladiators.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, please give it up for the Gladiators and Hydration, who is now joining me here on the floor for a quick chat. Congratulations, of course, on the first game, the first win of this very season. And there is the team getting celebrated on the stage. It was a great performance by you we saw in those games. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that. Now, of course, I want to start with your general preparation against the Shanghai Dragons. What did you guys focus on?
We just kept focusing on, you know, countering their 4 tanks because we knew they played a lot of 4 tanks. So that's one thing that we really focused on. And after we finished practicing for that, like we thought we were like pretty much all set.
All right. Now, looking at the break, there was a lot of time between the preseason and today. What did you guys do? Did you actually just practice day in and out, or did you guys go home?
Over the break, most of us went home, me not included. I stayed here. And this week, most people got sick after they came back. So that was kind of unfortunate, but that's what we did over the break.
All right, so going home, staying here, getting sick, the usual, you know, pretty much what everyone does. Now, one last question. We saw you guys busting out the Doomfist. You're very well known for playing that Doomfist on a very high level. Was that something you just used because you played against the Shanghai Dragons and felt very confident, or how do you make that hero work in the current meta?
I played it a very defensive style where we just kept helping our Widow stay alive. And that's kind of what we wanted to do with the Doomfist. And it's something I'm very comfortable with. So it's not like we're only picking it because we're against Shanghai or anything.
All right. He says that now, but... No. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure watching you guys on stage. Can't wait to see you again. And we're now heading to a quick commercial. And then we're back on the desk to break down that game.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
Check this out. Thanks for the assist. I will watch over you. This. Get to this. I'm on fire. My ultimate is charged. Are you even trying? EPM number 9.
one was a bit one-sided. The Gladiators come in and mop up the Shanghai Dragons. 4-0 is the final score as Gladiators now join the Valiant at the top of the leaderboard. I'm Puckett, joined by Sideshow and Bren once again, and we're going to break down the action, starting with Game 3. In the first half, we highlighted some hydration on the Doomfist, but we also had the takeaway that it's, again, the supports. The guys coming in, we're going to show up big. This time it wasn't Shaz on our screen permanently. We finally got to watch Big Goose, the other Finnish superstar, on that support play.
So I shouted this guy out beforehand once again as well. Big Goose was known as a phenomenal support back in the day as well, and now he's showing up once again in the Overwatch League. As you can see from this highlight reel, he was getting so many kills. That was such a crucial boop as well onto pre-fill while he was using the ultimate, the Transcendence there as well. He made so many high-impact plays on all sorts of roles, but not to mention Hydration, who you can see as well. Hydration on the Farah absolutely dominated Shanghai Dragons. I mean, that seems a bit of a strong word to use, but it's accurate in this statement considering what we've just seen.
Sideshow was a little bit worried when I didn't see Surefour in the lineup, but it didn't seem like the Gladiators needed him here on Ilias.
Yeah, they definitely have a very flexible lineup, actually. Given that they only have 7 players, I think that the fact that Surefour and Hydration can play so many of these different projectile heroes, and then they have Asher there to play the hit scan whenever they require it, gives them a nice setup for the DPS, where they can give a lot of different looks with only 3 people.
A lot of different looks, and we continued to see that as we went into Eichenwald. Game number 4 loads up, and the Shanghai Dragons, they just could not get anything going on the attack, despite a 4-tank strat for the opening attack.
Yeah, I think that one's really interesting, actually, because we've seen that kind of stuff back in December 2016. People used to run this kind of strategy. With the meta at the time, huge amounts of healing. We saw them run the Mercy. We saw them run the Moira. Maybe these kind of heroes will usher that strategy back in. It could be a very good one.
I can see that, basically with Moira being into the game now as well. She's very much a tank-dependent hero, I suppose, or tank sort of pushing towards with the high healing output, but also a high damage as well. She doesn't have much vertical mobility, which means that she is more suited to the tanks anyway on the ground. So, I mean, there's potential there. Quad tank was always popular for a short time. Didn't really see too much time. It was all triple tank with Diana, but who knows? I mean, this metagame seems to be up in the air quite often.
Overall, let's give our grade on these teams. What did we think of the opening match from the Shanghai Dragons? Did they improve from preseason?
I think they actually might have looked worse in the preseason. The thing was, in the preseason, we could see a bit of potential from some of these players. Dia looked like he was popping off. Roshan had a reasonable performance where you thought maybe he's going to develop. At the moment, they still look flat after a couple of weeks of practice, so this is worrying for me.
Bren, we talked about the great support play from the Gladiators. We talked about the incredible DPS play and the flexibility they have with those 3 players. We didn't mention the tanks. Bishu and iRemix seem to be on the ball for the Gladiators so far. How do you feel they compared to their performance back at preseason?
Well, I feel like they haven't really shown any new tricks. It's all really been quite same-so, you know, but the Gladiators did run a triple DPS composition quite commonly, so we didn't really get to see Bishu shine too much. But so far, I mean, it's hard to compare against the Shanghai game because it was so dominant, basically. It was a complete role, so it's hard to really gather too much from the performance. But overall, they played well enough to just really supplement the rest of the DPS and supports.
All right, well, fantastic showing across the board from the Gladiators. But now I got to put you on the spot. It's time to announce the player of the match, presented by Omen by HP, and for me, it's Shaz. You guys agree?
Yeah, I think we've got to give it to Shaz this time around. It was a team effort for them to be able to come out here and beat the Shanghai Dragons, but the standout player on the team, even when everyone's performing really well, is often Shaz. He's had a great game today.
You could basically just keep it on his perspective the entire game, and you just get one long montage of just frag movie with him on the Zenyatta. Yeah, he's a really fun player to watch, and yeah, 100% agree. His offensive assists, all sorts, coming out of the really just phenomenal play.
21-5, not a bad showing there from Shaz. Some ridiculous numbers from a support player going up against the Shanghai Dragons in the first match of the regular season. Gladiators Shanghai, that match is done. It's over. When we return, we're going to the big one. The best of the West face off against the most successful players in Overwatch history. It's Dallas Fuel versus the Seoul Dynasty when we come back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
No one can hide from my
I'm taking care.
The payload moves.
Nemi. Go. I'll be watching over.
It's not strategy. I am on fire. When I extinction is
Double. The objective is now.
Clearing the area. Target eliminated.
No one can hide
Double.
Justice reigns from above.
Check this out.
Thanks for the assist.
I will watch over you.
Kill confirmed.
Pardon me. Very tough.